I was so angry. It was because it's so beautiful, this music, and it deserves to be played in a good way. You could play da dee da dum, jump jump, and then.
King of Waltz, André Rieu, joins us now, and it is lovely as always to have you here.
I think I'm so proud of it. When you go to a classical concert, you look at the program, who's coming, who's playing, which symphony. In my case, they don't know, and I don't tell them.
This is the end of an era. For years, André Rieu kept his promise. Through sickness and exhaustion, he continued putting smiles on people's faces with his music, vowing never to stop for anything. But now, his body is harshly demanding what it's been deprived of for years, and there's no ignoring it this time. What was the final straw that broke André's lifelong promise to himself and his fans? Is this truly the end for him? Join us as we explore the heartbreaking tragedy that continues to strike André Rieu, the final waltz of André Rieu. For decades, André Rieu would smile and say he'd perform until he was 140 years old. The king of the waltz never imagined a world where the music might stop. But now, whispers surround his latest Maastricht concert. His grand return to his beloved hometown may also be his final bow. The once invincible showman, who lit up stages across the world, now fights a silent battle against frailty and illness. And, if there was even a flicker of hope left, the tragic accident he endured earlier this year has cruelly shattered it, leaving fans heartbroken and fearing the curtain may be closing for good. It began in 2010, when his life suddenly faltered. A vicious viral infection struck his inner ear, leaving him disoriented. The diagnosis, vestibular neuronitis, was brutal for a conductor whose art depended on balance and precision. Standing became a challenge, which made performing impossible, and eventually led to concerts getting canceled. The man who made millions waltz through life now struggled to stand without the world spinning around him. It was heartbreaking. Recovery was slow and agonizing. For months, Rieu endured physical therapy and enforced rest, two things he had never been good at. Marjorie, his wife, became his anchor. Yet, when he finally returned to the stage, something had changed. The sparkle was still there, but behind it was a deep awareness of mortality. He began adjusting his schedule and saying no to more interviews than ever before. The tireless performer had learned painfully that even music's brightest light can burn out. Then came the global silence of 2020, the pandemic. For the first time in half a century, André's music stopped mid-note. Tours were postponed indefinitely, and his orchestra fell still. Fans waited in uncertainty, while whispers about Rieu's health began circulating. Off-stage, he struggled with respiratory issues and muscle fatigue, his doctors insisting he stay away from cameras and stages. For a man whose life was built on sound, the silence was unbearable. By March 2024, the curtain of illness fell again, this time heavier. During his long-awaited Mexico tour, Rieu was struck by a severe case of the flu that quickly spiraled into exhaustion. Backstage, his voice weakened, but still, he tried to perform. His son Pierre watched helplessly as his father's strength faded before his eyes. The maestro, who once led orchestras with unstoppable energy, could barely lift his bow. Fans across the world were stunned. Rumors spread like wildfire, and there were a lot of assumptions ranging from cancer to liver failure and even neurological decline. But his team said little. Yet the tone of André's few interviews told the truth the world had been longing for. He began speaking more often about legacies and preparing for what comes next. But it was not only André's health that worried fans. Listeners began to notice something in his voice when he spoke of Marjorie. Sometimes he referred to her in the past tense, then caught himself and corrected it. This confirmed what many feared. Marjorie's health has also taken a tragic turn. The once vibrant Rieu home had grown quieter. In January 2025, André faced yet another scare when he was involved in a serious car accident that required hospitalization. Updates from the family were limited, emphasizing privacy and reflection during the recovery period. Despite these challenges, André continues to perform selectively. These challenges have not dimmed André's spirit or love for music. Each performance, whether in Europe, Asia, or the Americas, continues to embody his trademark joy, energy, and connection with audiences. Yet now, there is a deeper awareness, a recognition that the future of his music depends on longevity and balance. André has expressed his desire to continue performing for as long as possible, but with the wisdom that some things, including one's health, must come first. Still, he refuses to surrender. He has always believed the show must go on, and this determination has made fans wonder what the drive behind his music truly was. Why is he so passionate about his music, despite his body begging him to slow down? A passion born from trauma. Born in 1949 in the Netherlands, André grew up in a home where warmth was absent. His father, a strict conductor, ruled the household like a military camp. As the third of 6 children, André's childhood was shaded in discipline. He couldn't invite friends over, couldn't be silly, and certainly couldn't expect affection. He once admitted bluntly that his parents never really loved him. His mother cared more about grades and practice hours than about his smile or dreams. When teachers praised his creativity, she didn't beam with pride like other parents would. That kind of rejection left scars. Later in life, André sought therapy to untangle the knots of his childhood. But out of that pain, something miraculous was born, a burning desire to bring warmth into music, to make people feel the joy and tenderness he was denied. Strangely, his love affair with music didn't begin with a song. It began with a crush. At just 5 years old, André fell hopelessly in love with his violin teacher, an 18-year-old with a gentle smile and graceful hands. While other children focused on reading notes, André couldn't take his eyes off her. The way she held the bow mesmerized him. That innocent crush became the spark that ignited a lifetime of passion. Within weeks, while others still stumbled over simple scales, André had mastered vibrato. But as André's passion grew, so did the distance between him and his father. His father demanded rigid classical perfection. André longed to play pieces that made people smile. When he dared to share his love for waltzes, his father dismissed him coldly. And when André brought home Marjorie, the woman who would become his wife, his mother's cruelty cut deep. She told Marjorie to leave and sent André to his room like a child. That moment broke something inside him. Humiliated, André packed his things and left with Marjorie, never to return. His parents never saw him perform, not even when he filled stadiums and brought entire cities to tears. When his father died in 1992, he had never seen his son hold a violin under the stage lights. Yet, even in that painful silence, André found a lesson, one that would change the world of classical music forever. While playing in his father's orchestra, he had often noticed something strange. The musicians played beautifully, but their faces were empty. They spoke of salaries and schedules, not of the soul-stirring beauty of the music they made. But during encores, something magical happened. When the first notes of a Strauss waltz floated through the air, everything shifted. The musicians came alive and the room pulsed with joy. That was André's revelation. Music wasn't about perfection, it was about connection. One day, he played a gentle melody for a dying woman who hadn't opened her eyes for days. As the notes filled the room, her eyelids fluttered open, and she smiled faintly. In that instant, André understood everything his childhood had denied him. That moment by her bedside confirmed what his heart had always known. Music could heal what words could not. People didn't know what they were missing until André showed them, switching up the game in ways no one would have dared, and that came with a prize and a cost. What were the sacrifices he had to make to bring warmth to his music? The waltz that shook the world. Starting over was a dangerous dream, but André did it anyway. Professional musicians demanded professional pay, and André's new vision didn't come with guarantees. The classical music world was notoriously cold to innovation, but André trusted his instincts. So, on January 1st, 1988, under a dim light and before a modest audience, the Johann Strauss Orchestra was born. Then came May 1995, the night everything changed. Vienna's Ernst Happel Stadium roared with 50,000 football fans waiting for the Champions League final. During halftime, Rieu and his small orchestra walked onto the field and began playing Shostakovich's Waltz No. 2, a tune most people recognized from a Dutch TV commercial. What happened next was magical. The crowd began to sway, hum, and then dance. In an instant, the icy world of classical music melted into a sea of joy. The broadcast reached over 300 million viewers. Overnight, André Rieu was no longer just a musician. He was a global sensation. His album Strauss & Co. sold 200,000 copies almost immediately, climbing to #1 and staying there for an astonishing 19 weeks. But as André's waltzes captured hearts, the critics sharpened their knives. They mocked him as a clown, accused him of destroying musical heritage, and scoffed at his glittering shows. They despised everything that made his concerts feel alive. But André didn't flinch. He wasn't there to please the elite. He was there to make the world fall in love with music again. Then, in 2008, he did something no one had ever dared. He built a full-scale replica of Vienna's Schönbrunn Palace as a concert stage, complete with fountains, chandeliers, and horse-drawn carriages. It cost a staggering 34 million euros. People called it madness. André called it passion. He wanted his audience to feel transported, not just to a concert, but to a dream. Some colleagues questioned whether this extravagant vision was sustainable or even responsible. Tensions escalated to the point where resignations were considered. Yet Rieu refused to compromise his artistic vision. He insisted on moving forward, believing in the power of spectacle to transform the audience's experience. The result was a triumph. The tour succeeded spectacularly, cementing his reputation and saving his company from potential financial ruin. But the ordeal exacted a personal and organizational toll. In later interviews, Rieu admitted the experience pushed him to the limits of both his creative and entrepreneurial abilities. It taught him lessons about team management, resource allocation, and balancing ambition with practicality. Lessons he vowed to carry forward. Yet behind all that glory, a question began to haunt him. How long could he dance on the edge before exhaustion finally pulled him down? By 2010, André's revolution had transformed the landscape. Performances of Strauss's music had increased 16-fold. His orchestra had grown from 12 musicians to more than 60, even surpassing Strauss's own ensemble. He was no longer just keeping the waltz alive, he was breathing new life into it. In 1999, on the 100th anniversary of Strauss's death, André released a glowing tribute album. Austria itself honored him for preserving and reviving its cultural heart. Spectacle became his signature. During his 2008 world tour, André's traveling Schönbrunn Palace wowed fans from Europe to Australia. Imagine the sight: real fountains glistening under stage lights, carriages rolling across the stage, and chandeliers twinkling like stars. In Melbourne, nearly 90,000 people filled the Telstra Dome across 3 nights. A violinist filling stadiums like a rock star, it was unheard of. His DVDs shattered records, outpacing Pink, AC/DC, and even pop juggernauts. For a time, he held 8 of the top 10 DVD chart spots in Australia alone. But even the brightest lights cast shadows. In 2016, tragedy struck. During a Christmas tour in the UK, trombonist Ruud Merckx, a longtime member of André's orchestra, passed away in his sleep. His wife, also a violinist, was by his side. Rieu canceled that night's show and soon the entire tour. When he returned months later, the concerts felt different, as if every note carried a ghost of loss. The fall of his beloved orchestra left a wound that time could barely heal, but the pain didn't stop there. Behind the stage, André battled controversy and even bankruptcy. Yet, through every heartbreak and moment of doubt, one constant soul stood quietly beside him, the person who reminded him who he truly was when the world seemed to forget. Who was this steadfast presence? And what storms did André have to survive to keep his music alive? The art of taking things slow. André has always been synonymous with energy and passion. But at 75, the maestro faces a challenging chapter in his life. Serious health struggles that have forced him to reconsider his relentless pace. For a man whose livelihood revolves around the physical demands of playing the violin and conducting a world-class orchestra, these health issues are life-changing signals that balance and self-care must take precedence. For decades, André's schedule was a whirlwind of rehearsals, concerts, and international tours. Long hours holding and playing the violin, constant travel, and the pressure of perfecting each performance pushed his body to its limits. At first, subtle signs of fatigue and minor ailments were easy to dismiss. After all, musicians of his caliber often push through pain and exhaustion, believing it is simply part of the craft. Yet, over time, the signs became harder to ignore. His body was sending warnings he could no longer brush aside. André's son, Pierre, saw the writing on the wall long before anyone else did. He stepped forward, determined to protect his father from himself. Pierre had already been running the engine behind the scenes, but now it has become personal. André began letting go, handing over control of the empire he had built with sweat. Their relationship changed with each health scare. The world saw André as the unstoppable maestro, but Pierre saw the human beneath the tuxedo, a man who needed care. Pierre became his father's guardian angel, ensuring that André could keep playing safely. The endless flights and whirlwind tours were replaced with smaller, slower shows closer to home. But stress can also come in the form of mental fatigue. In 2015, a cloud of controversy swept over his beloved Maastricht concerts. 11 Romanian children took the stage as part of an ensemble led by pan flute legend Gheorghe Zamfir, a collaboration intended to symbolize unity through music. But Dutch authorities saw something else. They hit André with a staggering €236,000 fine, accusing him of violating child labor laws. His team fought back fiercely, explaining that the children hadn't performed beyond legal limits. They had merely joined in a curtain call. After 2 long, draining years, the court cleared his name. The fine was dropped, but the ordeal left a shadow. Through it all, André's compassion never faltered. In 2019, when a group of mentally disabled musicians had their instruments stolen, André quietly replaced all €20,000 worth of them. And when flames consumed the Notre Dame Cathedral, he offered 700 tons of steel to help rebuild it. A gesture of gratitude to the art and architecture that had always inspired him. Still, his most treasured possession remained his 1732 Stradivarius violin, a gleaming piece of history he'd nearly lost. During his darkest financial struggles, André listed it for sale, setting the price so impossibly high that no one could buy it. When his fortunes turned, he pulled it off the market. The Stradivarius, like its owner, had weathered storms and refused to change hands. André's prized Stradivarius, is treated like royalty. Every few months, a master craftsman disassembles it, polishes the ancient varnish, and ensures every string sings perfectly. On tour, it travels in a guarded case, watched over like a sacred relic. To fans, André is the joyful king of waltz, the man who made classical music sparkle again. But behind that dazzling image stands the real heart of his empire, his wife, Marjorie. While André twirled across stages and charmed millions, Marjorie worked quietly behind the curtain, shaping the dream in silence. She wrote songs, refined melodies, and guided the orchestra's creative pulse without ever asking for credit. Recognition never mattered to her. The music did. When classical traditions began to feel stiff and lifeless, it was Marjorie who whispered in André's ear to take risks, to make music breathe again. Her influence reached beyond the music. During a family holiday, the couple learned that part of the historic Maastricht castle, a place of fairy tales and centuries-old echoes, was for sale. Most people would have hesitated. Not Marjorie. When André worried about the cost, she simply smiled and said, "Sell more records." And they did. They bought the castle, but it became far more than a home. André redesigned every corner himself, turning its cold stone walls into a world of wonder, part Austrian elegance, part Venetian romance, part Bavarian fantasy. The castle became their creative heart, their orchestra's headquarters, rehearsal hall, and sacred space where new dreams are born. Music flows through the Rieu family like blood. André's son, Pierre, continues the legacy as business director, ensuring the orchestra runs smoothly. Now, even his granddaughter, Daisy, shows signs of following the rhythm, just as her father once did. Yet, André never forced music upon his family. He opened the door and let them walk through when they were ready. To him, music was never meant to be stiff or exclusive. It was meant to feel like home, warm, welcoming, alive. That belief remains the beating heart of everything the Rieu family creates. Even as he slows down and focuses on his health, his legacy is one that would endure forever. Let's explore some of his accomplishments. Visionary on the podium. André Rieu's place in the world of classical music is far more than a product of his exceptional violin skills. He is a visionary, a strategist, and an entrepreneur whose influence reshaped contemporary classical performance. From the moment he founded the Johann Strauss Orchestra in 1987, he envisioned more than just music. He imagined a living, breathing community on stage, where musicians were united not only by notes, but by mutual respect and shared passion. His orchestra isn't simply a performing ensemble, it's a family, a collective alive with energy, emotion, and connection. André's leadership extends well beyond the podium. His approach to business mirrors his creative ingenuity. He recognized early on that classical music couldn't survive solely in traditional concert halls. It needed space, spectacle, and reach. He designed larger, more welcoming venues, creating experiences where audiences felt invited into the music, rather than standing on the sidelines. Touring strategies, merchandise, recordings, DVDs, and live streams all reflect his mastery of finance and marketing. Year after year, his projects dominate global concert revenue charts, proving that joy and business acumen can coexist. Yet, André's empire is not built solely on profit. He invests heavily in outreach and education, funding music schools, donating instruments, and creating access for disadvantaged youth. To him, music is a human right, not a privilege, and his charitable work reflects that belief. Even when illness, financial strain, or logistical challenges arose, Rieu continued to produce joyful, inclusive performances that transformed audiences. His philosophy is clear: music must evolve alongside its listeners. maintaining relevance while preserving beauty. At the core of Rieu's artistry lies a belief system rooted in joy and love. He views music as both spiritual practice and emotional sanctuary, capable of healing, uplifting, and connecting people across barriers. Every concert is carefully curated to create a shared emotional journey. Melodies paired with storytelling and audience interaction. Pieces like Ode to Joy, You'll Never Walk Alone, and Hallelujah are strategically placed to guide listeners through waves of memory, hope, and catharsis. In Rieu's world, music is not performance alone. It is human experience made audible. This deep philosophy is intertwined with his personal life, particularly his decades-long partnership with Marjorie. She is his grounding force, his collaborator, and the quiet architect behind much of the orchestra's success. Marjorie guides creative choices and nurtures the emotional tone of performances, often without recognition. Her unwavering support during illness, setbacks, and world tours reflects the harmony Rieu strives to create on stage, a partnership that embodies love and trust. Rieu's humanistic outlook extends far beyond the stage. He sees art as a moral force, capable of inspiring, comforting, and fostering a sense of shared humanity. His charitable initiatives span disaster relief, children's health care, refugee assistance, and educational programs. During the global pandemic, when live performances ceased, Rieu's recorded and online concerts became lifelines for his audience. Fans wrote letters and messages of gratitude, telling him how his music eased isolation and grief. For Rieu, an artist's presence is a responsibility, especially during times of struggle. With such an enduring legacy, does Andrés have anyone who would keep the music in the family and continue to protect the work he has successfully built from the ground? Moment with his grandchildren. Grandparents often treasure every moment with their grandchildren, but for world-renowned violinist André Rieu, life on the road makes that difficult. Constantly touring across continents with his Johann Strauss Orchestra, Rieu has learned to stay connected with his family through technology. Yet, as time passes, a more important question quietly lingers. Who will continue his life's work when he can no longer lead the orchestra himself? Now in his late 70s, André Rieu remains one of the most successful classical performers in the world, admired for bringing orchestral music to millions. However, the musician has admitted that he tries not to stay away from home for too long, ensuring that his grandchildren still feel close to him. He often receives daily photos and videos of them through social media and video calls, which help him stay part of their lives despite his demanding schedule. Rieu and his wife Marjorie have built both a family and a career together. They raised two sons, Marc and Pierre, who have grown up surrounded by the rhythms and passion of their father's music. While André continues to perform around the world, his sons have slowly taken on more responsibility behind the scenes, showing that the Rieu family legacy may one day continue through them. André has often described himself as a spoiling grandfather, preferring to let his grandchildren find their own paths instead of pushing them into music. He believes that each child should make independent choices, but hopes they develop an appreciation for music and creativity. Still, as he grows older, fans often wonder whether any of his children or grandchildren will inherit his musical empire, the orchestra that has become his life's greatest creation. His son, Pierre Rieu, already plays a significant role in managing concerts, productions, and business operations. Many believe Pierre is being prepared to carry on his father's legacy when the time comes. Marc, the elder son, has pursued a quieter life, occasionally involved in the family's creative decisions. Although neither son has stepped into André's exact role as conductor or performer, both share a deep respect for his achievements and the discipline behind his success. The question of succession weighs heavily on fans who have followed André for decades. His orchestra is not only a group of musicians, it is the reflection of his dedication. Passing that responsibility to someone else will never be simple. Yet André has always trusted his family to protect what he built. At home, Rieu prefers silence after spending months surrounded by symphonies and applause. He finds peace listening to his grandchildren sing or to the birds in his greenhouse. Away from the spotlight, his life is simple, a sharp contrast to the grand concerts that made him a household name. Still, the legacy question remains. André's influence on classical music is undeniable, and his orchestra continues to inspire new generations. Whether it will be led by his sons or grandchildren, the world of André Rieu will continue to play on, even when his own bow finally rests. With news of him slowing down and focusing on his health, fans are wondering, what's André up to? Maastricht's maestro. In Vrijthof Square, the heart of Maastricht, a handwritten note taped to a lamppost reads in Limburgish, André Rieu is a magician. Just a few steps away, his photo graces the menu of a local restaurant. It's November, yet posters for his July concerts already fill the city. Each summer, André Rieu transforms the square into an open-air concert hall, performing for 12 nights straight to thousands of fans. The event has become so iconic that it even appears on a jigsaw puzzle sold in local souvenir shops. In an interview from his castle home in Maastricht, where he lives with his family and runs a company employing more than 130 people, he explained that fame hasn't changed who he is. He still does his own shopping, cooks at home, and enjoys quiet moments by the Meuse River. Though he owns a 300-year-old Stradivarius violin and fills stadiums worldwide, he claims to value simplicity over luxury. Owning a castle and a Stradivarius didn't change him. On stage, he moved effortlessly from Blue Danube to Shostakovich, to La Macarena, and I Will Survive, all performed on his centuries-old violin with the elegance of a Viennese waltz. Every venue became a palace, with elaborate sets, giant screens, and stunning lighting. Orchestra members wore frock coats, and the women wore colorful dresses designed by Rieu himself. He explained that traditional orchestras could look lifeless in black attire, and he wanted his performances to feel alive, vibrant, and beautiful. His concerts attracted over 700,000 spectators annually, 20 million social media followers, 2 million monthly Spotify listeners, and around 40 million records sold. His next album, Thank You, Johann Strauss, was set to be released in November. Audiences came because they wanted to be moved, to laugh, to cry, to dance. And his concerts were about shared experiences, not prestige. When asked if he felt like a rock star, he laughed, saying he didn't know what that felt like. He was simply himself. Performing in massive venues normally reserved for pop and rock stars, he explained, audiences came to forget their troubles and enjoy the music. Connection mattered most to him, regardless of background, beliefs, or age. His repertoire was eclectic, from Can't Help Falling in Love to the intermezzo from Cavalleria Rusticana. Every piece was chosen to touch hearts. Rieu even joked about trying reggaeton one day, but every concert was carefully structured like a story, building to a climax that left audiences exhilarated. He never revealed his set list, yet fans came knowing they would experience an unforgettable night. The secret to his success, he said, was simple: a cheerful nature, a love for connecting with people, and the joy he brought to the stage. Every performance created lasting memories, a night full of beauty, laughter, and music that everyone could feel. Which of André Rieu's pieces is your favorite? Do you think he should keep performing until his very last breath? Or would it be better for him to step back and savor life a little more? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.